slice. Got to roll the dice, that's why all my life I've been grinding all my life, all my life, been grinding all my life.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 9 of Creatin Chats. My name is Eric Mojica, your host for the show. So today our guest is Justin Magallanez, also known as Coach JMagz, and he's the owner and founder of Creatin Monsters, located in Southern California. So JMagz studied at Azusa Pacific University and the University of Colorado Boulder, and he's worked many jobs in the field of strength and conditioning, working with high school, college, and professional athletes, and also works as a biomechanics professor at Cerritos College. So JMagz is also a master trainer at Vertimax, physiotherapist with Jordan Brand, and ultimately runs his own facility working with several professional sports organizations. So Creatin Monsters is a brand inspired by his son Damien, who was basically just always watching his dad train a bunch of professional athletes, and went up to him and said, "Hey Dad, you're creating monsters." And so JMagz took it upon himself to just start his own business, and started out of a little garage, went on Craigslist, bought some equipment with a little bit of cash that he had, and just little by little his business really grew to the point where now he has professional organizations reaching out to him, sending their athletes to go work with him. So in this episode, JMagz and I talk a lot about assessments and some of the things that he looks for in his athletes to help set a foundation for all the programming that he does for them. If you're a strength and conditioning coach, hope you get a lot of information out of this and take some ideas from JMagz and some of the stuff that he likes to do to help his athletes. Creatin Chats is inspired by a conversation that I had with my professor at Avila University, Dr. Larson, and we talked about how sometimes some of the greatest conversations that we have is outside of the classroom, outside of the textbook content that we talk about. And so if you can think about maybe a time where you went up to your professor after class and you asked a simple question, and that question turned into a 30-minute, 1-hour conversation. And so the goal of this podcast is just to connect people who are students or people active in the fields of kinesiology and exercise science, and getting you to connect to physical therapists, strength and conditioning coaches, personal trainers, other professors at universities, and other things like that. And so if you're a fan of the show, please make sure to subscribe. You can find our content available on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes podcasts, on the Apple Podcast app, and you can also find some content on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure to follow us on all of that. So nonetheless, here's episode 9 with Coach Justin Magallanez. This episode of Creatin Chats begins right now. All right, so we got our guest today, Justin Magallanez. He is a strength and conditioning coach located in Southern California, and welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, man. So just want to start this off, man. Introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Well, name's Justin Magallanez, but everyone just calls me Justin Magz. I am a strength and conditioning coach for many people. I'm a women's strength and conditioning coordinator at Cerritos College and a biomechanics professor. I am a physiotherapist for Jordan Brand. I am a master certification coach or master trainer for Vertimax company. Then I work for other companies as well with a lot of NFL teams. Just recently got a job with the LA Dodgers as well, and I'm a full-time papa and a full-time dad.
Awesome, man. Thought I was doing a lot. So tell me, so where did you start off? What were some of the jobs that got you going to where you're at today?
Well, multiple things. I was an intern with a guy named Joe DeFranco in Wycombe, Jersey. And from that point, just working different facilities, a place called Velocity Sports Performance under John Jakowski out in Irvine, California, and Ken Vick, who also ran that program as well. Then just working at Chaffey College, being a assistant strength coach / a tight ends coach at the time. Then going to my graduate program, University of Colorado, as a GA for that team, for the football team. And then next, working on the New York Jets as an intern, then went to the Patriots as an intern as well. So I was doing training camp for those guys. Then working same thing with the Minnesota Twins. And that's pretty much like my journey so far. And then working out in the garage for so many years, and now to a full facility I have for 2 years now.
Right on. So we got to connect about a year ago, right? And you got to tell me a little bit about your entire story. So Creatin Monsters, What's that title? Where did that come from?
It's pretty funny, but it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. My son, Damien created the name, and one day we were at a facility that I was working at, a place called EM Speed and Power Training in Rancho Cucamonga. I was a coach there, and also an athlete trying to stay in shape for my season because I played a little bit of football, still post college. And one day I was working these guys pretty hard, and Damien goes, "Dad, you're creating monsters." And so from that point, it just kind of stuck. And it to the point where his mom and I were like, we just got to put this into like a company or a name, a brand, a trademark, just whatever to recall that name that he actually created. So Damien actually created the name Creating Monsters, and even the logo when he was, I won't believe, about 7 years old, he created the logo as well. I was a little stick figure, and he thought it was me with my backwards hat, and he drew that, and from there it just took off. And going on, I don't know now, maybe 11 years now. 11 years now, the company's been going pretty strong.
Wow. And so I remember you telling me about how you started out of the garage. So how did this whole journey start as far as growing Creating Monsters?
So the name Creating Monsters was basically just still I was working at local gyms, LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, UFC gym down in Corona, California. Then same thing when I was working at Velocity, where I really took off from that point. And to a point where a lot of guys are like, you should be doing it on your own. And plus you're driving from West Covina all the way down to Irvine every day. And it's about 2 hours of traffic all the time. If you know California traffic, it's brutal. One day I just really got stressed out from work, and I literally says I can't do it no more. So the point one day I just getting blessings from my mom and dad, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna do it out of the garage. I asked my mom if I used her house, and it was a 2-car garage. I had $400 in my pocket. Well, actually, my son's mom's money gave me the money to put a down payment for just like little scraps. And we went to a Craigslist, and we saw a used gym equipment place down in Carson, and $400 got us a bar, a rack, 2 floor mats. I believe it was 4 kettlebells, and a couple stability balls. And I made my own sandbags, rice buckets, you name it. I made it on my own, and for 6 years I did it. I did it in the garage, and slowly but surely I started putting more equipment in there, finding scraps on Craigslist or even like on eBay, wherever sales were going. And lo and behold, the 2013 year, those guys from Velocity that I was working with, they was like, hey, we want to do extra work. So they come all the way down the garage from Irvine down to where I was at, and we did extra work there. And eventually that class right there, we had, I think, 4 first-round draft picks going on that class for me, and it just boomed. And basically at the point where I had more and more people started coming in, and eventually, the house got sold. So I'm like, okay, we need to find a facility. And from that point, we started renting out facilities, and I started growing more and more and more. And eventually 2 years ago, a lot of the agents were like, you need to have your own place. So we searched around, and eventually Damien actually found the facility, and he saw the facility he liked the most, and him playing lacrosse, he saw the big walls and stuff like that. And we just kept it there. So now 2 years strong, we have a full-time facility now. I have about 120 athletes. About 90% of them are all professional athletes. Then we have a collegiate and a little bit of high school as well. So it's just been growing ever since.
Yeah. And so I follow you on your social media, and I see it seems like every single day, right? You got videos of guys just working out. I see you at high schools as well. Yes.
So I became the assistant strength coach. I didn't want to become a full-time strength coach because of my commitments from other facilities. Same thing with the school. I decided to help out the football team at South Hills High School, where my son goes to school. Then from that point, I became their physiotherapist slash assistant athletic trainer there. And from that point, that this past year we went 14-0. We won state championship, and we were about, I think we had no more, maybe like 3 injuries or 4 injuries going on, because I really put a lot of hard work into that rehab stuff with what we were doing with them, and even the point where addressing different strength concepts or a different type of program to the point where these guys were understanding what's going on in their body, how to prep them, how to post recovery, and more importantly, how to stay healthy throughout the whole year through a strength program that not only incorporating velocity-based training and some unconventional training, and more important, and like some triphasic training as well. So I kind of threw all that mix into this whole program that excelled for a high school team that was, very average size. We were Division 6, so I mean, we were playing guys that were bigger than us, but we had speed, and that's what we wanted to do the most, is that take advantage of what we had was speed and a lot of explosive stuff. So, and that worked for us this year.
Right on. And so, as far as your training philosophy, so let's start with just the athletic part. What's your overall philosophy? What do you look for to work with your athletes?
Well, I always say one is simple, easy, and effective. So if you take those acronyms, CEE, so see the results that you want. Make sure that these younger athletes, even to the professional athletes, are understanding exactly what you're trying to explain and what you're trying to do. And that's my whole thing, is make it so simplistic that not only I'm teaching these professional athletes what to do, I can take exact same concepts and teaching a younger athlete, a teenager, down even to a youth athlete as well, to where they understand the concepts of what you're trying to do. So, simple, easy, and effective is because we're keeping it so simplistic that not only is it effective, but the results of their success has been basically, there has been no regression. It's always progressing every time. So within that standpoint, we're just teaching the basics, foundation for everyone, and more importantly, just educating the athletes what's going on, what they're doing. And that's my whole entire philosophy, because, I mean, social media, different books now, they're saying you got to do this, you got to do this, this person's doing this on Instagram and trying to get more likes, or on social media, so, train with me. But then again, it's like, it doesn't matter who you have in your facility. It's basically, if you're teaching the exact same concept, that younger athlete is doing just about the exact same technique as a professional athlete, and it just kind of favors no matter what.
Right on. And so with the athletic training stuff that you've been doing, so what are the basics of what you do? Do you go through assessments with the athletes, or are you just kind of providing treatments? Like, what's that like?
So every athlete that I'm working with has an assessment, from younger to professional. And with that being said, it's kind of like my own way of knowing why. I'm always known as the why coach. Why they're injured? Why are they not doing this? Why is this overcompensating? Why are they stepping too short on the first steps, on the sprint, so on and so forth? Or why are they always getting injured? And so through their assessments, it's time under tension. Basically, I want to see what's working and what's not working, or what's overworking to the point where it's causing them to get injured all the time, where it might be a pelvic tilt, one hip sitting higher than the other. If their toes are inverted, everted, are they overcompensating on if their shoulders are retracting, protracting, just all through time under tension for myself. I mean, just doing 3 different movements on just simple glute activations as well. See if the glutes want to fire. If not, if they can do, if the hammy's going to fire, or your hip flexors are overcompensating, so on and so forth. Next, we're going into a eccentric isometric hold, split squat hold, where we call it EQI. to see what muscles are overworking as far as that position. Can the athlete decelerate in a certain time frame or a certain distance when they're running? Because more importantly, deceleration is basically not being addressed a lot to a lot of these athletes. That's why ACL injuries are skyrocketing so much, and a lot of these trainers don't really know how to address deceleration a lot, other than was doing a lot of plyo stuff, which is great, but you have to teach the basics of landing, decelerating, or even the point where can you learn how to stop on a dime on running. You want to change the direction. A lot of these guys are overextending. Next thing you know, their center of mass is still on one part, and they know how to shift that weight over, and that's what tears the ligaments there. And even the part where their arm velocity, arm action, is it fast enough to decelerate the hips as well. So we're doing all that stuff in general to see within that hour of assessment. Then I start creating their templates of okay, we got to do this, a lot of corrective exercises. A lot of these kids now these days don't know how to activate their glutes. So we're trying to teach those, or same thing with diaphragmatic breathing, that we're trying to teach them how to engage their stomachs or diaphragm. So now that everything else can open up as far as, their hips, or even the point where when they're running, they're not starting to panic when they're running, or you're trying to hear them, they're trying to hide ribs, and they start going to top motions when they're running. So we're trying to teach all that stuff within an hour. Yeah.
Right on. And so just kind of want to pick your brain on what you do. So do you have like a specific like protocol for what you do with them? Or you just have them go through a variety of movements and then you're just kind of keeping an eye on them? Like what's your process for that?
So I do 1, 2, 3, about 5 different things through the protocols. So I have a power plate. So I use the power plate a lot. I'm one of the master trainers for that company there, and a lot of tutorial stuff for them. So, but then I'm actually using it, see, can their muscles fire through a certain time? So I'm doing a glute activation for 5 minutes, and can they move through certain planes and certain movement patterns by learning how to activate their glutes? And majority of the time they don't. And so I'm doing that for 5 minutes there. From that standpoint, then we're working on, like I said before, working on an eccentric load and isometric hold as well. Can they hold that for a minute as well, a split squat hold? So we're working on a Bulgarian or split squat hold standpoint. Can they hold that for a minute? Sometimes they only can hold for 30 seconds, and I kind of just shut it off there. Once we're done with that, then we're going to a diaphragmatic breathing. So we're going to use like a bike, or we're using some type of a conditioning tool, I guess you can say, to see where the heart rate goes, and if they're able to get the heart rate back into a certain regular normal state within time frame. I always do like a 10-second high intensity with a 20 to 30-second rest time period. Can they get their heart rate back into 50%, 60% range all the time, so they can stay consistent throughout the whole entire 5 to 8 minutes? From that standpoint, we're working on deceleration. So I'm having these athletes using, like for example, a Vertimax Raptor, and I'm checking if their shoulders are rounding forward. Can they retract on a deceleration standpoint, or are they going their hips overextending on as far as like when they're trying to stop, or are they going high rib, or can they maintain a low center of mass, or even a point of athletic position on a certain movement as well? Then we go into I'll bring them on a table, checking on different certain range of motion as well. Even if their hips are seen higher, lower, even a point where even just laying down what does their body composition look like when they're laying down? So we're doing all that stuff in general within an hour. And then lastly, I'll just finish off with a regular straight air bike, and how far or what's the distance that they're going to fatigue. So I mean, normally I would go like 200 meters, maybe like a 30-second sprint, and see how much watts they're producing per first ride on that time frame on that bike right there. Then I'll have him go again off about 30 seconds. Can he stay consistent throughout the whole entire point there? And normally about 95% of the time, how I create that program, I don't want to say 100% of the time because sometimes I do make mistakes as well. But 95% of the time, I hit the nail in the coffin, and I start creating a template based on that individual. So there's a lot of corrective exercises that we need to address, and then from that standpoint, we'll go into their strength aspects to fix those corrective exercises. Then we'll go into a sprint. So I go through like a big phase of, okay, we got this stuff, then we go into this, then we go into this here. So, and that normally takes about a good 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
right on.
but I have everyone come about 5-6 times a day. I mean, a week. So I mean, these kids or these athletes, they're on a set regimen with me. So I try not to go once or twice a week. I'm 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week with them. Well, it's like it's a routine with them. Just when they're going to practice, I understand now younger athletes are on club ball and doing stuff like that, and they have classes and stuff like that. But I really try my hardest to preach that, hey, the more you come in, the more we can fix these stuff. So you're not going to be falling behind from what needs to be done in your regular templates.
Mm-hmm. And so I assume that now that you have this whole system in place that you can do on your own, that it's probably a little bit easier, maybe not easier, but it's more efficient, right, to be able to track your athletes rather than traveling from gym to gym and be doing all of that. So
right. And even the point where I'm able to break down teams. So I'm able to break down 20, 30 athletes all at once just by seeing different movements, because I see it every day at a point where I'm like, oh, this person was just like this. I can fit, and I'll know what to do already just because I've done it by, numerous times of assessments there.
Right on. And so, so as a biomechanics professor, how do you apply that? I know you mentioned how you kind of do these assessments and you track all that, but are you doing like any type of video analysis or anything like that for athletes, or how do you apply your biomechanics overall?
We do force plates. Same thing, video analysis, different angle assessments. Even the point where we're learning on VPT. I use a push band, and it's used for a lot of concepts, strength training, med ball, so on and so forth. But I took a different approach of how to incorporate a plyometric program by using VPT for them. How fast are they producing enough force to so they're able to move forward or decelerate fast enough, just using that type of equipment. So even the point where we're doing a lot of ACL protocols, because a lot of these athletes will have difficulty trusting their body that, hey, that I can't stop, so we're using something like that to address different reads on them, even the point of how much force are they producing per step, even by distance running. How much force are they producing per step and per meter, even the point of by time as well, where they start losing their dry phase, and also to where each step is going as far as how much distance you're producing as well per step there. So I have a lot of equipment doing that. Then another guy named Sean Pena, him and I are one of my partners. Yeah, using a lot of instruments.
Oh, that's awesome. And just on another note with that, when it comes to injuries, how much do you attribute to some of these movement patterns that you see? Because you mentioned that you see younger athletes, right, how they have a lot of flaws. And so I guess my question overall is, what do you see different between youth athletes and then going into high school, college, pro? Like, what are the biggest differences that you see with that?
Other than a lot of these younger athletes, the youth, they're just doing too much when it comes to sticking to basics. I mean, a lot of these athletes will start incorporating like bands and different things as far as to enhance their speed. If you keep us, exact same foundation of teaching them how to jump, how to land, how to change direction really quick, even to the point where can they really decelerate through a certain amount of distance that you're addressing and accelerate without type of false steps to enhance your speed, compared to these, adults, collegiate to professional, sometimes that it's okay to go back to foundation for these guys. I think that social media has really broadened horizons as far as strength and conditioning, which is great, because this idea, I never thought about this idea, so on and so forth. And, there's a lot of sharing or a lot of stealing. I say sharing a lot just because that's what's great about social media. You get to share your experiences and you get to share what someone's trying to do. But then again, the whole false part of it is like, oh, I took this, or I created this, when it actually was on social media just 2 hours ago. But going back to the younger and adults, is that sometimes that the flaws is that a professional athlete is literally, there's no foundation basis between both of them. A lot of these younger trainers will train younger athletes like they're professional, and these professional athletes really don't have the exact same foundation as a younger athlete because they couldn't have any foundation basis. So the point where I'm just trying to make it equal of same concepts, and for them to understand why we're trying to do these things and why we're trying to address, say, a squat. I mean, it's amazing to have, right now I'm doing NFL Combine. It's amazing that I have a couple of guys that just don't know how to squat yet. Now you're a deadlift or even doing a regular dumbbell flat press. They don't know how to retract their shoulders. So I mean, it's amazing that some of these things have never been addressed. It's simple. Like today, I had one of the guys doing a simple plyo push-up, but he didn't know how to load up really quick. So we had to reteach those things as far as, hey, you should do this when you're a little kid. But I think that our generation, as far as strength and conditioning, has advanced so much that we forget that we got to start here no matter what. Even what the guys have been with for 10 years already, I still bring it back down to a foundation base. And we go, we'll progress up to that.
This episode of K and Chats is brought to you by All Star Chiropractic. Dr. Casey Berry is a chiropractor located in South Kansas City, providing chiropractic adjustments using a holistic approach to promote self-healing through the power of chiropractic. The power that made the body heals the body. For more information, visit www.allstarchiropractickc.com or call the office at 816-942-6066. That's 816-942-6066. All Star Chiropractic. And now back to the featured K and Chad's podcast.
I really just try to keep focused on what I'm doing and still practicing my craft, and make it better. I'm trying so hard to make it so simplistic that anyone can do it. And I'm trying to teach so much to, my class that I have at Cerritos, and even just the kids I have in the facility. I'm trying so hard to teach them to the point where they can go and teach that to someone else, and even sometimes my own kid can take a whole entire pro guy and teach him exactly what to do. I actually explain to him. It's just I try to keep it so simplistic that I try not to buy in on the, you gotta have this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. It's just that it's worked so well for me. Why would I want to change it?
Yeah.
And plus too, learning from like Joe, Buddy Morris, all those guys in general, is that you just got to read, find some people that, you really admire, get their mentorships, and plus to just learn from them. Because I think is that a lot of our generation now is kind of, this book says here, we got to do this book's here, it's just that, look, there's only so much you can accumulate make it simplistic for yourself to understand, learn from those that created that craft. Then from that point, create your craft that you can create on your own, and you can teach it. A lot of the younger generation want to use a concept from some of them and think it make it better to them. But there's a reason why that this has worked so well so long from created by this person, because he's the one or she's the one that made sure that it was a good solid foundation point to research from, or get knowledge from. And so like I said, when it comes to the hype and all the buy-in stuff, I try to keep it very simple. I just try my hardest to read different stuff, because I'm not much of a reader. A lot of just podcasts or videos and stuff for me,
Same here. How I got into it.
Yeah. And, as much as I try to, with my social media, I try so hard to put so many videos up, because I want to educate. I'm a teacher. I think I'm a damn good teacher too. So I try to educate so much to influence people like you and anyone who else follows me and say, oh, I never thought I can do a sprint technique like that, or a different sprint concept, or a med ball throw, or incorporating a triphasic type of scenario and incorporating that to a sprint as well. So I try so hard to think outside the box a lot. But then again, I'm not one to like, okay, we're gonna do this today. There's a lot of thought process when it goes into incorporating these things with the athletes. A lot of trial and errors. I'm not gonna lie, I'm the guinea pig, or even Damien's the guinea pig as well, since he's old enough now to do some things. So I'm like, Damien, let's do this today, and he's like, why? I'm like, I just have an idea, and then if it works really well, I try so hard and like, hey, all right, that actually really well, and then we can branch off that. So Damien's been the guinea pig. Sometimes he's like, Dad, no more. Like that's too much, dude. It's like, okay, so I know already.
Yeah. So, so you're not the first strength coach that I hear that from about trying to make things as simple as possible. And so I gotta ask you, not just for myself, but for any other kinesiology, exercise science students out there who maybe overthink things. Like, well, what's your greatest advice just to learn how to simplify all these different concepts?
Find something that intrigues you the most. Find something that you find a passion for. Even though kinesiology and strength training is a big horizon, shorten it up. And more importantly, find something that you really, really like and develop that craft from that. And it makes things so much easier as far as specialize in something that you take passion for. For the longest time, I was the strength, the barbell guy, the strongman guy, you name it. I was a lot of that guy. Then eventually, I found really a passion for prepping an athlete before a sprint, before a competition, doing plyometrics, and because I did a lot of explosive stuff, but I knew that, okay, it was a little bit too much at one point. Okay, well, how can I make it a lot simpler? And then lastly was how I incorporated with sprint, with strength as well. And I did the post. And, I took those four and I just developed into a program that I firmly believe that it works for anyone. Strength training to speed to strength, the point where you're going from a pre-activation standpoint to get ready for a sprint, a pre-activation standpoint to get ready for a heavy strength day, and obviously I'll post to the point where these guys can recover within 5 minutes and still do something that after that, get ready for another competition, so on and so forth. Like baseball players having double headers. I'm able to take a baseball player, get them recovered, not using compression boots and stuff like that, which we have these days, or I still use them, but teach them different basics, how to get these guys recover fast enough so they can play another game and not feel like they just played, so many innings or threw the ball so many innings and stuff like that, you know. But I think to our younger generation, I think it's just that it's great that you're making our profession challenging, because now you have to catch up to the younger generation. You know, some of the old guys that I know are like, man, you know, my stuff doesn't work anymore, so I gotta, you know, advance myself. It leaves myself thinking, okay, think more outside the box, trying to be ahead of the game, educate myself more, find people that you really admire and start mirroring them, email them, call them. They really enjoy that. I've never met a strength coach literally not go, oh, I'm just too busy, or, you know, I'm too good to take another mentor, like learn from, you know, stuff like that. And if they are, they're not really a true strength coach, you know, because they don't like to educate. You're, you know, a coach is a teacher. So I love teaching. I love teaching the concepts of what I'm doing. You know, sometimes I get a little bit out of the box and I start talking too much here and there, and I'm going off the concepts of what I'm trying to teach. But I just love teaching others on what I'm doing, because more importantly, if I see it done in a manner that I know I taught it, I know it's done right. And I'm not the one saying my way is the right way, but I've been drilled enough by previous teachers and coaches that I perfected that what they taught me what to do, and to make sure that I'm doing them proud by doing their work that they taught me. So I always try to find mentors around me. Sean's one of them. Joey, also named Rock, The Rock, RFT. Those two guys are my best friends. We always talk all the time. Sean, I talk to him like maybe every couple hours, think about different things. And Sean is one of the lead physiotherapists for Adidas, and one of the best sprint coaches I ever met in the world. And you know, Joe, Buddy, all those guys that I grew up on, you know, since I was a kid, and I'm always a phone call away from them, which has been pretty cool. You know.
Awesome. So, any specific stories that changed you as a trainer? Any experiences that you had in internships or certain groups that you got to train?
Well, I mean, man, there's so many good stories. I mean, I remember cleaning up bathrooms as an intern. You know, in order to get free training, you know, so I used to clean up Joe's spot up there. Then what else I used to do? I remember that the 2012 class, the NFL Combine class, was going in, and I did a lot of work, and the point I got recognized through the whole entire group, and those guys wanted me to around them more than the head strength coach. And it was kind of like I took the realm, I guess you say, because I was doing stuff that that the kids wanted. And more importantly, I'm still young, so I still sprint with the guys. So I would always do one sprint now these days. Before I used to do like 10 sprints, showing them off. I only get like, you're gonna watch this once, because I'm a lot older now. But other than being around, you know, the NFL and what it entails in the NFL, you know, what it takes to be in the NFL as a player, as a former player as well, to get there, you know, that one shot. I had my shot, and I think I did a pretty good job, even though it was only training camp. But still, I know I did a really good job there. Then the point where I got recognized to another team, got to do that as well. Then Colorado, being really cold out there. I mean, there was a lot of times where, you know, it's like 2 degrees outside, and they're making guys run with no shirt, you know, no jackets, no sweatshirts, and we're out there, and I'm like, you know what? I took off my sweatshirt as well, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put that thing back on really quick, you know. But I remember, you know, sacrificing myself to be in with the crowd as well there with those guys. So
awesome. We'll find you on social media. Any ways they can reach out to you?
On Instagram, which would be CM _ JMagz, JMagz. Then for Twitter, it's Coach JMagz JMagS. And that's pretty much it. I mean, my email is my first name dot my last name at yahoo.com. And I'm always on my phone. I know it's a bad habit. I mean, I have my phone right here right now. So, I mean, you can contact me anytime you want. I would respond back. I'm pretty good on that. If I don't respond back within an hour or two, it's just because I'm just very, very busy. Then normally on weekends in the afternoon, I try not to do as much contacting me back because I'm with my son or my family, and just really enjoying life what I can.
Awesome. All right, Coach. Well, thank you for your time, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. I'll be in touch with you.
All right, for sure.
And there's our interview with Justin Magallanez. If you would like to reach out to Coach JMagz, it's spelled JMagz. You can find him on Instagram at CM_JMagz and on Twitter at Coach JMagz. What I took away from this interview was how simple he keeps his concepts to enable all of his athletes to grow. Sometimes as trainers, we can get excited about new exercises and equipment. And in terms of injury prevention, we can at times overlook simple flaws of movement like ankle mobility or poor running mechanics. Addressing things like landing mechanics and deceleration can go a long way with assessments, on top of postural work and diaphragmatic breathing, the foundation for improving strength, power, and athletic performance. Thank you for listening to the show, and remember to follow us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and the iTunes podcast app. All the episodes are also available on the KN Chats website at knchatspodcast.wordpress.com. KN Chats is an educational podcast connecting our listeners to professionals in the fields of kinesiology and exercise science. Subscribe, like, follow, and most importantly, share the podcast with your network of sports, health, and fitness enthusiasts to continue the KN Chats mission to share free content and valuable information from all our professional guests. We have more shows coming your way, so please stay tuned. This is Eric Mojica signing off. Until next time, this is KN Chats.